over the last couple of years, there have been several incidents in which internet service providers in the United States have either blocked or degraded certain kinds of traffic. In some cases, it's been traffic from certain kinds of applications, like voice over IP applications. In some cases, it's been traffic from peer-to-peer networks. In some cases, it's been activity that, in most cases, it's been ISPs saying they have to control the way that people use their internet connections in order to manage the overall service quality on their networks, and so that one user or a small number of users doesn't degrade the performance available to everyone else on the network. Back in 2005, the Federal Communications Commission issued a set of principles which said that internet service should be provided to people according to 4 basic principles. There were 4 rights. They weren't formal rules that the FCC issued, but they said, here's how we think the internet ought to work. You ought to be able to use any application you want on the internet. You ought to be able to access any content you want. Particular providers shouldn't be discriminated against. And prices and terms should be clear. Since then, there have been, as I said, a couple of incidents in which internet service providers have blocked certain kinds of traffic or degraded certain kinds of traffic. There have been some court cases about this in the United States. And where we are now is one of the internet service providers, Comcast, that was found to be in violation of these principles by the FCC, went to court and said to the court, well, number one, we're not going to do this anymore because we'll provide open access to the internet. But number two, the FCC has no right to tell us what to do in how we offer internet. They don't have the authority under their statute to regulate net neutrality. So the court came back and said, agreed with Comcast, with this one particular internet service provider, and said, well, the FCC does not appear to have authority, at least in the way that they chose to exercise it. So there's now a question mark about how we're going to guarantee that the internet really does remain open, free, and non-discriminatory. That ruling came down less than 30 days ago. So the FCC is looking very hard at how to fulfill what they think is an important policy mandate. The White House is looking very hard with my agency at how to fulfill this mandate. So I think the next couple of months are going to be an important time in seeing how we go forward. The interesting thing to me is that while there's a very vigorous political battle about what the authority of the Federal Communications Commission ought to be in this area, essentially everyone on all sides of the debate, whether it be internet service providers or large web companies or consumer advocates or almost anyone else, everyone says, well, yes, of course, the internet should be open and non-discriminatory. So the optimistic view is that we'll get there quickly with a minimum of rancor. That may be a little optimistic, the last part. There will be some rancor. But I think that one of the concerns that the administration has brought to this question from the beginning is we want to make sure that the internet is open, number one. That's clearly critical for the way the internet has functioned, for the development of all the innovative applications and services that sit on top of the internet, the World Wide Web, not the least of which. It's clearly vital to have an open environment. I think at the same time, having an environment of uncertainty, not knowing what the rules are, is not going to be good for anyone. It's not going to be good for investment decisions that we hope broadband internet service providers are going to make. When we think of closing that 35% gap in internet service, we certainly want to make sure that there are internet service providers, either existing ones or new ones, that feel that they can have a viable business in providing high quality, high speed internet access. So we have to make sure that the rules are clear. We have to do that both for the network operators and also for the innovators and entrepreneurs who are going to be thinking of developing new web services in the future. You're not going to go and develop a new service today if you think tomorrow that an ISP might decide to shut it off. The web is, Tim points this out better, than anyone, that Tim didn't have to ask permission of any internet service provider to start this thing called the World Wide Web. It just ran on top of the internet without any interference and without any permission. That's clearly a critical environment to maintain. So I think it's going to be an important couple of months coming up as we see how this all plays out.